The knocking down of the effigies. It was the 7th year of Hijrah, and it was the month of Muharram, the first month of the Islamic calendar. Our Prophet sent Amr bin Umayyah to the Abyssinian King Najashi. The messenger had a letter in his hand, and it read like this: Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This letter is from Prophet of Allah Muhammad to the Abyssinian King Najashi. I praise Allah on behalf of you with all my holy names. Dear King, I am inviting you to believe in and worship Allah, who has no partner or no equal, to follow me and to believe in what has been sent to me by Allah, because I am Allah's messenger, and it is my duty to tell you these. Now I have told you about the facts of Islam and advised you. It is time for you to accept these. May Allah give you well-being. The messenger reached Abyssinia. He offered the king our prophet's letter. The king accepted our prophets with much respect. He rubbed it over his eyes, and after kissing it, put it on his forehead. He then let his men read the letter. After the letter had been read out, he got down from his throne and sat down on the floor in a modest manner. He confessed his belief in Allah and became a Muslim. He said, "If I had the opportunity to go to him, I would definitely go." He then continued by saying, "He is the prophet that the Jews and the Christians are expecting. If only I could be a servant of our prophet, who is worth this kingdom. Being his servant is much more precious than this throne." The king asked for an ivory box to be brought to him. He put our prophet's letter inside the box and said, "As long as we have this letter, the Abyssinian people will live in fruitfulness." The Abyssinians protected the letter and the box with care for centuries. Abyssinia was a place full of fruitfulness and blessings until the letter was lost. After it was lost, people couldn't escape the famine and drought. Our prophet had made up his mind for definite. They would achieve glory. However, he was keeping the thought of opposing the polytheists a secret. Our prophet thought that secrecy was an important matter and always acted carefully. He didn't want to give the enemies any opportunities. The fact that he wanted secrecy meant that he could force them to surrender without shedding too much blood. This is because our prophet was appointed the duty of leading people into happiness through justice and truth. All the preparations were completed. Our prophet ordered an army of 10,000 to advance. The start of the journey to Medina was on the first day of Ramadan. Our prophet and the soldiers were fasting. They stopped a couple of times during the journey to take a break. One night, they arrived at a place called Miruz Zahran, close to Mecca. Everything was being carried out very secretly. The Meccans didn't know anything about the Muslim army's advance. Our prophet wanted to show the people of Mecca of their arrival into the city with a magnificent show of fire. He ordered each of the soldiers to light up a fire. 10,000 fires were lit in one go, and this dazzling view lightened up the whole of Mecca, and it made the non-believers feel terrified. The spiritual light of our universe, our prophet who they forced to immigrate, was coming. With 10,000 shining lights around him, he could be seen once again on the horizon of Mecca. The sun of Islam rose on the horizon of Mecca with a different type of glory. Those who didn't believe in this rising were amazed. They had tried to put out this light only 2 years ago. How did the light they had tried to destroy become so bright and powerful in such a short of time? Those who were amazed couldn't make sense of this mystery at all. The non-believers of Quraysh had realized the situation when it was too late. Mecca was completely circled, and the view of 10,000 fires was dazzling. Our Prophet gave the commanders this order: "You will not engage in fighting until they attempt to stop and attack you. You will kill no one." The calendar was showing the 8th year of Hijrah and the 13th day of Ramadan. The day was just beginning. Our Prophet was riding on his camel. He had a turban that was made in Yemen on his blessed head. He had let the two ends of the turban fall on his shoulders. He was entering this blessed town with feeling of great glory and dignity. He was thinking Allah was showing him and letting him live this day. At the same time, he was reading the surah which gave news of the siege called Siege Surah. This was one of the very happy moments for both himself and his friends. Having won so many battles, the Muslims weren't acting spoiled. On the order of our Prophet, the army of Islam wasn't attacking anyone. They entered the city respect and good manners. However, at that moment, an attack was made towards the area where Khalid bin Walid was commanding. A well-known enemy from Ikrimah bin Abu Jahil tribe had attacked them. Khalid didn't want to respond at first, because that is how our Prophet had ordered. The enemy had speeded up their attack and started throwing spears towards them. When this attack started, they were then given permission to respond. The enemy was then forced to run away. In this attack, 2 soldiers died, and the enemy had many casualties too. Our Prophet was informed about this situation. He called for Khalid, and after hearing about what really happened, he said, "There is glory and good deed in what Allah sees fit." When the army of Islam was entering Mecca, no other fighting took place apart from this. The Muslims didn't use their weapons. During this time, those who were to be executed, given the death sentence, were caught and they were executed there and then. These were well-known enemies. They put our Prophet through much suffering and torment. They had done many bad and unthinkable things to our Prophet. They were to be executed by the will of Allah, and because of this, many of them ran away and were then found hiding. Our Prophet announced an exemption when he entered the city. Whoever takes refuge in Abu Sufyan's house will be forgiven. Whoever put his weapons down will be forgiven. Whoever goes back to his house and closes his door will be forgiven. Most of the soldiers then went back to their houses, and some took refuge in Abu Sufyan's house. The army of Islam, which had more than 10,000 men, had entered the city of Mecca, but Mecca was having a very calm and normal day. Everyone felt safe and secure. It was now after the occupation of Mecca. Our Prophet hadn't yet left this holy city place. A woman called Fatima from the Mahsum tribe had stolen something. She was an honorable and a noble woman who came from a good family. She was very well known around Quraysh too. Our Prophet was informed about this situation, and everyone knew that the hand of a person who stole something would be cut off. However, they thought about this and discussed among themselves, how could a woman who is so respected get her hand cut off? Her family was trying to find a way of stopping her hand get cut off. They wanted one of them to go to the Prophet and beg for this not to happen. However, no one dared to do such a thing. Eventually, Hadrat Usama bin Zayd took this duty upon him. Hadrat Usama was a Sahabi who our Prophet was very fond of. He had taken this duty knowing our Prophet's love for him. Hadrat Usama went to our Prophet and asked for the woman to be forgiven. Our Prophet's attitude changed all of a sudden. "Have you come here to ask me to forgive one of the punishments that Allah has said?" Hadrat Usama regretted what he said. "Dear Prophet, pray to Allah for my forgiveness for this inappropriate behavior." Hadrat Usama had learned his lesson. Our Prophet then stood up and praised Allah. He then told those who were around him, "Those who lived before you were ruined because of this sort of behavior. When a notable person used to steal something, they used to let them go free. However, they would immediately punish those who were weak and poor. I swear on Allah, who has the power to hold Muhammad alive, that if my daughter Fatima had stolen something, I would have definitely cut her hand off as well." Our Prophet said that when it comes to justice, everyone should be equal. He made it known to everyone that even if it involved his beloved daughter Fatima, he wouldn't escape from doing a duty that Allah asked for. The Muslims had cleaned the Kaaba and Mecca of all these effigies, statues that represent a personal spirit, of the polytheists, non-believers. Our Prophet asked for all of the effigies around Mecca to be destroyed as well. First of all, Hadrat Khalid bin Walid was sent to knock down the effigy that was in Nahle. Hadrat Khalid went and knocked down one of the big effigies called Uzza. This was the effigy of the Menat, Aws and Hazraj tribes. Sa'd bin Zayd was appointed with knocking this effigy down. Sa'd bin Zayd together with some other Muslims went to Menat to completely knock it down. Another one of the big effigies that the polytheists worshipped was called Suva. That effigy was somewhere 3 miles away was the effigy of the sons of Kinana, the Huzails and Muzains. Our Prophet appointed Hadrat Amr to knock down this effigy. Hadrat Amr did what was asked of him immediately. The center of Mecca and its surroundings were cleared of the effigies. The city of Quraysh was saved from not believing in Allah and from the darkness. It was the 10th year of the Hijrah, and it was the month of Zil-Qa'dah, 11th month of the Islamic calendar and the month of the Hajj. During this period, our Prophet started preparations for the pilgrimage to Hajj. He told the Muslims in Medina to get prepared too. He also sent word to those Muslims who lived outside Medina to prepare themselves and gather in Medina. Thousands of Muslims then came flooding into Medina. Soon after, Medina became very crowded. All of them were all believers and people who were beaming with the light of Islam. They set up tents all around Medina. The Muslims were celebrating and having a glorious time. They were enjoying the happiness of the news that our Prophet had given, which was they had got the good results of this big goal to spread the word of Islam. They were all thanking Allah.